Hey guys, welcome back to my next book preview video. This week it's a big one. This is how to become a successful anime style artist, tutorials, case studies and advice from industry professionals. And it gives you the name of the 5 or 6 artists that are throughout this book. I'm showing them on camera here because if I try to pronounce these it will not go well. So I'll put links to their Instagram profiles and stuff in the description box below anyway. So a quick look at the back there. So as usual, I like to start these videos by focusing on the contents so that you guys can pause the video if you want to and have a proper read through of this. You can tell from that there's quite a large sort of introduction, and then each artist or 5 of the artists all have a case study section, a gallery and a tutorial section, which we will talk about in a moment. So as usual, I'm just going to preview through this book whilst I ramble on a little bit and give my thoughts on this. This is a 3D Total book. I've got quite a lot of their books now, so definitely check out the link in the description box below if you want to see any more book preview videos, because they have some really good ones. So I wanted to start by saying this book has absolutely loads of information on it. And whilst it is aimed at anime artists or people wanting to become anime artists, I would say pretty much all the information that I've read in here so far is relevant for all artists. Yeah, there's the odd bit where they talk about specific genres within anime, manga, and they break that down into each section, which was actually surprisingly interesting because I'm not a manga artist or an anime artist, so I don't know the ins and outs too well, so it was quite nice to have a really basic breakdown that was easy to take in. It just gave me a little bit of a better understanding. So usually I actually stop on pages and talk about specifically what's on that page. This book, as mentioned, has so much information on it. I actually had to make notes for this video so that I could, point out a few things. It may not match up with what's on camera in the background at the exact same time, so I apologize if that's the case. But yeah, this book actually starts by talking about what manga actually is and how you can turn your hobby into a profession. Again, the way it's worded is quite as if it's sort of specifically anime, but I think they've actually limited themselves a little bit by saying that, because I don't think all artists would necessarily pick up this book if they weren't an anime artist, but they would definitely be losing out because this information is absolutely gold. Anyway, there's information about building an audience, social media and conventions, how you can build on these using, fan art, trends, online trends at the time. So yeah, some things I suppose they do speak specifically about what maybe a good manga trend is at the time. But overall, I would recommend this book regardless of what kind of artist you are. And there's a section, I've gone back here to the beginning, about social media, and this artist talks about their experience with each one: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, DeviantArt, how it works as portfolio, but maybe doesn't have as much potential for growth. And it's broken down into bite-sized chunks, is pretty much everything in this book. And it's genuinely really interesting, and especially if you don't have any experience with the business side of things. Yes, this book does have tutorials in it, but I think it's more of an advice book. It's going to get you started on your journey, whether that's selling things, merchandising and things like that. There's quite a lot on that. Or whether it's more about developing your style. If you've watched any of my videos before in the past, you will know I'm always quite big on any books and advice that give you information on how to develop your art style, mainly because it's something that I don't have much experience with yet. I haven't really developed my style, so I always find it quite interesting to read that. And another 3D Total book actually that's quite good for that is The Style of Loge. So again, I'll put more links in the description box below to some other books that are quite useful for that as well. So as well as that, the beginning also talks about different types of work, such as commission work, freelance or studio work, or even different job roles such as concept artist, storyboard artist, etc. So again, you can see why there's just so much information in this. And then you get onto these back sections here, which are 5 different artists giving the case studies, the tutorials and the galleries. So with this one I'm on here, for example, we're up to the gallery. And then I think after you see a bit of their work, it goes to the tutorial. I actually like, by the way, on the tutorial for each artist, there are these artist tips. Now, I haven't read all of the tutorials on these ones yet, but the tips are really good. I always find it quite nice when books have little tips like how to study and things, which is, again, also included in this book is little sections on how to study, how each artist developed the style. Okay, so let's start here, for example. This one is by Lord Gris, I think is the way to pronounce this one. And the case studies for these artists tend to be broken down into like their influences and motivations. There's a lot about being self-taught, which again plays into sort of motivation. There's a lot about self-doubt, handling criticism. Again, more artists' experience with social media, industry experience, and working for companies. It's going to vary a little bit with each artist, but it's also good that they cover some of the same things in terms of it's quite nice to get a few different opinions from professionals. As well as that, there's a timeline, which I'll show you in a second. Again, developing style, really important. And building your brand and merchandising, which, as mentioned already, I find that really interesting. I find it quite important because I do sell merchandise of my artwork, so I think it's quite good. And I wish I would have had this kind of information to me when I was a beginner artist or earlier on in my career. It could have acted as research. It could have saved me a lot of my research, I suppose. So it's really just a bit of a way to get started quicker. All the information in one place. I kind of picture this book like as if you had access to the artist. As a beginner artist, you might ask these questions. How did you do this? What did you use for this? How did you get started in the industry? This is a quick look at the timeline I mentioned, by the way. I find things like this quite interesting to see professional artists' journeys. But yeah, there really is just so much information in this book. The tutorials, you can see different ways, different workflows, how each artist work. Pretty cool using the little mannequin on this one, for example. And whilst we are on the Lord Gris section, I think pretty much at the time of me releasing this book on YouTube, I think her art book has just been released. So I don't have that one yet. I would love to get it. Definitely take a look though if that's your kind of thing. And again, I know I've mentioned it a lot, but even the tutorial section of this book, even if you're not a manga artist or anime artist, I think you would still get quite a lot of value out of these tutorial sections at the end of each artist's work, because they're just showing you so many different methods, how they work. You pick up quite a lot of tips and tricks. What I'm trying to get at here is that you really don't need to let the anime manga style thing put you off, even if you are not a manga artist. I've said the word manga and anime way too many times in this video. Anyway guys, I think I'm going to leave it at that. You can see we are about 230 pages in here. A little bit of colour theory for you there. There is just so much information in this book. I couldn't possibly preview it all on camera, but there's about 280 pages in total. I will put links in the description box below to where I got this one. But there you have it, jam-packed with information. I would recommend this one. Even if you are a complete beginner, I reckon this one really might help you get started. As well as that, it's nice to see how other artists manage things like art block. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful if you were looking at buying this book. If you did, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and of course, switch notifications on for future content. As well as that, leave me a comment below, let me know what other books you guys want to see next. Thanks so much for watching everyone.